Sometimes you get too close to the tree, you lose sight of the forest. And the forest is the nation, and that's what we always have to look at. How is this nation born? How does it continue to exist? And I think that's the discipline. That's where we have to stay on that path. This is a culmination of all of that research, all of those efforts. And we're talking about a lot of pain, talking about a lot of joy. You know, this is the history of our people for the last 150 years.
Please be seated. The Tribunal invited Mr. Han Jonkman to sit with us at the end of the table. He was the former Secretary General of the Permanent Court of Arbitration for many years and had a great deal to do with the revival of the Permanent Court as an institution, and it's a great pleasure to see him.
In the writing of the new rules.
The Tribunal today will hear submissions on behalf of the claimant, Finance Parks, and tomorrow we'll then hear the response of the defendant. So on that basis, I'll call on Ms. Parks.
Lance Larsen filed this case as a subject of the Hawaiian Kingdom, taking it for granted that his rights as a Hawaiian national are intact, and that his country, while occupied, the sovereignty remains intact. At all times during the pleadings, he has been operating, assuming that as a matter of fact and law, he is a Hawaiian national. The respondent in this case, the acting government of the Hawaiian Kingdom, has also at all times maintained as a matter of fact that the Hawaiian Kingdom is a sovereign nation, albeit an occupied sovereign nation.
As I stated before, we are the respondents, and that we're basically defending ourselves, that we have done everything that we were capable of doing within the framework of occupation to protect the rights of Mr. Larsen. But through this process, we're also going to be understanding the relationship that a government has with its national within the framework of occupation. In that regard, we're very thankful for this case to go forward.
We've taken Lance's case to the international level. Lance has been making arguments in state court, and we did go to federal court. And unfortunately, the denial of his nationality was so extreme within the state of Hawaii judicial system that we decided we wanted to go to the international level so that people outside of Hawaii could see what Hawaiian nationals are going through. And the testimony and the written pleadings and the oral testimony that Lance gave is now on the international record. Transcripts, irrespective of what the judges rule, we have now put that as historic evidence on the international level, and I think that was our main goal. Of course, we would like these judges to give us some indication of what Lance's rights are with respect to the government, or what steps would be appropriate to take next.
Right. There's no such thing as liability in the air any more than there's such a thing as negligence in the air. So you have to say in what respect there's been a breach.
I very easily could reformulate the issues in a duty, breach, causation, more of a tort type analysis. The way the international pleadings were set forth did not seem to lend to that. But the specific actions mentioned in the documents in terms of the consistent denial of his nationality, that is the breach.
What people may overlook is that Lance Larsen's rights, and we have conceded that, were violated. He was thrown in jail. He was incarcerated, and 7 of those 30 days, he was in solitary confinement. That's a real issue for Lance Larsen. People may speak about it lightly, but that wasn't them in that jail. And all he was doing was following his law, a law which he can defend.
The Hawaiian Kingdom case is a very unique case, and the law tends to be set up for what is the usual case. So when you come in with an unusual case, you're going to have a couple of hurdles you've got to overcome. And the important thing is to find out what's bothering the decision maker. So as soon as we found out what was bothering them, we moved our tanks over to that front. And then, as you know, when I got up, I decided I was going to get to them before they got to me.
You don't have to say that the United States is illegally occupying Hawaii. you can say there is some argument that can be made that the United States is illegally occupying Hawaii. Under that condition, what is the responsibility of the Hawaiian government and the Hawaiian Kingdom to its nationals who are claiming that they have a right to be ruled by their government's laws? On the other hand, you could go further and you could say, well, we're going to, as a arbitration panel, we're going to look at the legalities of the United States presence in the Hawaiian Islands. You could look at that issue and decide, well, without the United States' participation, we really don't have enough evidence and information to make that decision. But in deciding this particular arbitration, an arbitration panel could well decide that based upon the information we have, which we feel is satisfactory, that we believe as a matter of international law, it appears to us that this occupation is illegal.
In this document, the United States Department of Justice, which the first page acknowledges that this comes from the United States Department of Justice, acknowledges that a joint resolution alone is insufficient to acquire another nation. Other exhibits in the memorial show that both the sovereign of the Hawaiian Kingdom, Queen Liliuokalani, and many of her subjects, through the petition against annexation, were not only deprived of a right to vote and acquiesce into becoming a part of the United States. In fact, they adamantly protested on the record and sent those protests to the United States State Department, saying that they did not want to become part of the United States.
I'm pretty confident that what we've done to date, lives up to the dignity of our ancestors, which is what's pushing us to do everything that we're doing right now.
It's not talking about culture, it's not talking about all these other things. It's, if we're going to present Hawaii's existence, its continued existence, and prove to the world that our sovereignty was never diminished, we needed a cornerstone. The Queen laid that for us.
It's because of the work that Queen Liliuokalani did that provided the basis for us, because if she hadn't done what she did, then we wouldn't be able to make the arguments that we're making. In fact, this arbitration is really an extension of the careful way in which she preserved the status of the Hawaiian Kingdom.
The second day we were here, we had a meeting with Phyllis. So Umi, myself, and Keanu, we went in to go meet Phyllis, and she comes to the door, and you know how imposing that place is. It's just, you go, oh God, it's here, we're here, oh my goodness. But she comes up this step, and she had her assistant with us, and she turns to him and says, Dane, this is the Hawaiian Kingdom.
The dominion of the Hawaiian Kingdom. In a summary, from 1840, the Hawaiian Kingdom possessed a constitutional government with elected and appointed officials and a complete system of civil and criminal laws to govern Hawaiian territory. On April 8, 1842, King Kamehameha III in Privy Council commissions 3 envoys to secure international recognition of Hawaiian independence. And these individuals are Timoteo Ha'alilio, William Richards, and Sir George Simpson. On December 19, 1842, Hawaiian envoys secured United States President Tyler's recognition of Hawaiian independence. November 28, 1843, the British government and the French government formally enter into a declaration recognizing Hawaiian independence. In our pleadings, we refer to that as the 1843 Anglo-Franco Proclamation. From that point, Hawaii has had its statehood recognized as being independent. As such, it began to enter into these treaties. Austria-Hungary, Denmark, France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Russia, Spain, and the United States of America. International recognition is evidence that the Hawaiian Kingdom have diplomatic representatives as of 1893 from those countries. as far as consulates and embassies.
The important part of this case is to have an authoritative determination by competent people in the international field as to the status of the Hawaiian Kingdom, because that is going to clarify for a lot of people the foundation for thought in the future. Our view is that has not been clearly understood.
What we've had to do is to take a very unusual historic situation and try to mold our situation into your procedures. Frankly, I think it was quite a challenge, but I really do believe that we have done that. You'll see on the first page that we've identified the claim that's been made, that through the inaction of the Hawaiian Kingdom, Lance Larsen has experienced his problems. The reality of it is that the United States government itself has recognized the fact that the overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom government was unlawful. The United States itself has recognized that the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Kingdom, in fact, was never terminated.
Could you just read what the Solicitor General said verbatim again?
So this is only a part of it, but it says between 1826 and 1893, the United States recognized the kingdom as a sovereign nation and signed several treaties with it. The United States has concluded that it bears a responsibility for the destruction of their government and the unconsented and uncompensated taking of their lands.
Right. And that's a verbatim quotation from the Solicitor General.
That's correct.
In argument.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually say that the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist, does it?
No.
It says that the United States has a
It
responsibility.
doesn't say that. Actually, in the joint resolution, there's more of the substance of that. But what is important is that the sovereignty of the Hawaiian people is now being recognized by the government of the United States, which there has recently been before Congress is a bill to recognize the sovereign status of the Hawaiian people.
Is the concept of sovereignty, which you address, that of sovereignty over Hawaiian nationals, or is it a geographical sovereignty, namely sovereignty over the entire Hawaiian Islands, including all those who are resident there, whether they be Hawaiian nationals or, for the moment, regarding themselves as not Hawaiian nationals but nationals of the United States?
To most people, it means you have to provide for citizenship of the people who are there if they wish it. But the international community has amazing versatility in figuring out the answer to complex problems. That would be another stage along the process. We're here because the Hawaiian government, the Hawaiian Kingdom, and the Hawaiian nationals need a better understanding of their position, the position of the Hawaiian Kingdom in international law, given the complexity of the present situation.
The point is that even if it was the case that the UNCITRAL rules, I mean, there's a textual problem with the UNCITRAL rules, which we pointed out, but even if it was the case that the UNCITRAL rules on the face of them require that the dispute be characterised as commercial, that's a matter between the parties, and the basic principle of the UNCITRAL rules is party autonomy. So as between yourselves, you can waive that requirement without any difficulty. The problem, it's more difficult to waive a requirement of the consent of a third state if there is such a requirement.
That's the issue. I mean, that's the entire issue. Can we proceed in the absence of the United States?
And Mr. Gibbon, that's the issue, whether you go under one set of rules or the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rather, what we find is that the United States has never expressed itself as an occupier. Who would? They will never admit to occupation. But yet, to admit to occupation is, in a sense, to admit to the continued existence of the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state, which is really the crux of the matter, which is actually what is holding up, you might say, this issue to be resolved. Thus, the legal order thus the reestablishment of the government, thus the relationship between its nationals.
I mean, to be slightly unkind, but thus the issue in rem. The point is that if the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist, its existence is in rem. It's not in personam. The Hawaiian existence, the Hawaiian Kingdom doesn't exist solely in the opinion of Mr. Larsen.
Right. But that existence should not be dependent upon an occupier, because you basically put the occupier on an equal footing with the Hawaiian Kingdom in its own territory. So really what needs to be addressed is what came before the occupation, whether the statehood or whether the legality or illegality of the Hawaiian Kingdom, not the illegality or legality of the United States as an occupier. Should the tribunal find it has jurisdiction, we are prepared to submit an offer of proof. We felt that this tribunal would offer some clarity so that for the first time we have a third party to present these type of merits that can be scrutinized by international law, rather than taking it before a United States tribunal, which could not rule on it to the detriment of itself. So in that sense, there is really no other way to address this issue. And the opportunity did arise because it was Mr. Larsen who was adhering to Hawaiian Kingdom law. And if the United States was adhering to occupation, not whether they're illegal or illegal, but if they were adhering to the laws of occupation, we wouldn't be here right now. If the tribunal feels, and I strongly submit, that they can address the issue of Hawaiian statehood without the United States, because you are looking at Hawaiian statehood before the occupation, whether the occupation was legal or illegal, and whether international law safeguards the continuity of a state during occupation.
Certainly to advocate the rights of the Hawaiian Kingdom is kind of historic, and as you do it, you sort of feel like the Queen is with you there in the chambers. So there's a lot of emotion and a lot of feeling of historic significance.
Just the fact that we are in the Permanent Court of Arbitration, in the Peace Palace, in The Hague, and our country's history is on record now, forever, in perpetuity. Anybody can pull this up anytime after this, on the websites, through the libraries. We have realized our goal.